a flow of how it's going to go, right? Um, Mindy does a little welcome chair chat, and then we turn it over to Lauren X, who will then turn it over to you, right? And Lauren, and yep, okay. All right, so here is my very formal chat. Erin, I see you smiling over there. Yeah.
Not much has changed.
No, but I have it here. Okay, so welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the Ithaca College Occupational Therapy Alumni Speaker Series. It's great to see everyone here. Some of you here may know me. I'm Mindy Cozzolino. I am the chair and program director of the department. Dr. Julie Dorsey has taken a position as an associate dean in the School of Health Sciences and Human Performance. So she now supports our department from a different vantage point. So the current president of Ithaca College, Lejeune Terry Cornish, often reports, students are our why. Well, if students are our why, our alumni are our results. And the speaker series, as it in its form, combines the two of the best things: our current, our why, and our results. One of the things we like to foster at Ithaca College is a continued lifelong learning and curiosity, and this speaker series fosters both of those things. This speaker series was born out of the vision of two former students that you folks might know, Emma Robinson and Julie Gainbard. In their third year, when they were digging into their occupational therapy coursework, they realized that there were so many varied and diverse ways that you can work in the field of occupational therapy. So they decided that they wanted to learn more and hear from some alumni to come back and talk about their experiences and some unique endeavors. And they approached Dr. Jenna Heffron to kind of be their advocate in this. And together they started this series. And I believe we're in our fourth year. This sort of started during COVID. And it was, for me, it was like a lifeline. It was my Wednesday night to see the people lifeline during COVID. So I'll be forever grateful for that. So now the torch has been passed to two current students, Lauren Rodriguez, and where'd Axa go? And, oh, there she is. Oh, and Axa Roy. And they're going to serve as our moderators, and they've been organizing these events this past year. So I thank them, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
So before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know about the Zoom closed captioning live transcript. If you click on CC live transcript at the bottom of the Zoom window next to the reactions, option one, it will show the subtitle, which will make the captioning appear at the bottom of the screen. And to turn it off, you just click on CC live transcript again, and then it'll hide the subtitle. There's also a chat feature at the bottom of the Zoom window next to the participants button. Similar to the live transcript, if you click on that chat button and then the caret at the top of the chat window, you choose pop out and the chat will move around your screen. We welcome you all to use the chat feature throughout your presentation. During the question and answer period, we'll be fielding questions from the audience through the video, audio, and chat. So you can just engage in the technology in whichever way feels most comfortable to you.
So tonight is our second speaker series event of this semester of our fourth annual speaker series, and we have the pleasure of hearing from two of our alumni, Mckenzie Perkins and Erin Loonie. So just some bios for them. Mckenzie is a graduate of the MS class 2022 and pursued travel therapy after working in a skilled nursing facility for 6 months post-grad. She is currently 5 months into her first travel contract in Eastern Oregon at a critical access hospital working with a mixed setting caseload. During her contract, she has worked with patients in acute care, neuro, hands, and even pediatric populations. And thanks to these experiences offered as a travel OT, she was able to escape burnout and develop her confidence as a new grad clinician. And then Erin is a 25-year-old traveling OT and ICOT alumni from the BSMS class, also of 22. And following graduation, Erin began pursuing travel OT opportunities in pediatrics. As a new grad, she began working in a school district in Delaware to fill a maternity leave position before extending her contract through the end of the academic year. Currently, she is 7 months into a 10-month contract on the Central Coast of California. And while traveling, Erin has gotten to see a lot of new places, experience, and learn from different settings and meet many amazing people on the way. So our speakers will start us off with an overview of their work and experiences, which will be followed by a question and answer period where the audience can have a chance to chat directly with them and ask any questions that you might have. We envision this as an informal conversation, an opportunity to engage with our fabulous speakers. So without further ado, I will turn you over to Mckenzie and Grace to get us started.
All right, I will share my screen. Actually, do I have access to share my screen yet? Might need it.
I don't have access yet either. Otherwise, I'd do it, Kens.
Give us 1 second.
No problem.
Don't worry. While you guys are working on that, so our presentation is going to kind of start with the boring stuff and then get into more of like our personal experience, and I'll try to answer as much as we can for any questions that you guys might have. We wanted to do it just because this was an area that we both were really interested in back when we were in school and in your positions, and we didn't really feel like we had that much information. And it wasn't until I got to talk to another Ithaca alumni who's a few years older than me and Kenzie, and he gave me a ton of information. And that's probably why I even went into it. Because before that, it just didn't really seem doable. So just kind of wanted to preface while we got set up.
And you guys see my screen? Oh. I'm stuck. I will say technology does not get easier.
Kens, do you want me to try?
I think, can you see
There
it?
we go. Yeah.
All right. Still good. Why wouldn't I go into full screen? You.
We're going to lose our animations.
Yeah, might be why.
That could be it.
All right, well, let's go through it without the fancy slideshow feature because share screen. Oh wait, that should help.
Do you want me to try it?
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So just simple, this travel OT advice for the new grad, kind of, as I mentioned before, it's definitely an area that you're not really encouraged to look into right out of school. And we kind of just want to break it down a little bit for you guys as we go through.
So some of the things we'll cover throughout the presentation are understanding what exactly is included in travel OT and what that means, and how to get started, how to gain exposure of the benefits included with it, as well as debunking that myth of it not being new grad friendly.
So first of all, what really is it? So it's a career option for PTs, OTs, speech therapists. You probably have heard nurses go into travel. And what you'll typically see is contracts that are typically 13 weeks long, and they can be found all across the country in hospitals, inpatient and outpatient facilities, school systems, and home health networks. So really anywhere you want. And it's just a great way to kind of see different places with different length contracts, and we'll get into more of that. So why should you consider traveling? The three biggest things that we kind of thought about when we were talking about it was just your flexibility, the pay, and the variety that you can get. So like I said, contracts are typically 13 weeks. So you get to decide what kind of setting you want to be in, what location you want to be in, how long that contract actually is, because it can definitely range. Both of us have had some atypical contract lengths. You set your schedule and you can decide if you want different time off in between. There's just a lot of different ways that you can go with it. The pay is known to be one of the highest in our field. So as a new grad jumping into it, you're definitely gonna see more opportunities to make more money right off the bat compared to if you just went into a typical staffing job. And then the different opportunities that you can have. So this ties into the settings and locations and things like I was talking about, but that is a huge opportunity for growth. You get to learn from all these different therapists, you get to learn from all these different facilities and how they do things. And it'll teach you both what you're interested in, what you might not be interested in, and then how to kind of progress from there, what questions to ask for your next facility. It's just a huge learning opportunity overall.
Okay, so now we'll get into some of the details and what some terminology means with traveling. So basically a breakdown is your role as a traveler. You're filling that temporary need. So not to say it in unpopular terms, but you are disposable as a traveler. Your contracts aren't guaranteed, and they can be terminated or extended with notice. And Erin will talk later a little bit about that experience.
I sure will.
With recruiting companies, they're going to be that middleman that work between you and the rehab company that you're working for indirectly. And in that case, like they work for you. You don't work for the facility in that means. Negotiations are always handled by your recruiter. So if you don't ask, you don't get. One of the things that was important to both of us was like a mentorship orientation. So if that's important to you, always ask and inform your recruiter, and they'll kind of lead you towards a more appropriate setting that'll provide that. And lastly, location. Nothing's guaranteed. Jobs are coming and going all the time, and they get snatched up sometimes within 24 hours. So the more open you are to settings and locations, the easier and less, not always less stressful, but the easier it'll be for you to find a job.
I touched on this before, but as far as where you can work, whether it's pediatrics, adults, or specialties, there are tons of different travel opportunities for you. This was something that I wasn't sure of going into after graduating. I knew I wanted to go into pediatrics, and I wasn't sure if that was really an option with the traveling route, but I've learned you can go into schools, outpatient clinics, home care, pediatric hospitals, rehab centers. Same for adults. You can do acute care, rehab, outpatient clinics, SNFs, home care. And then there are some specialties from what we've seen hand therapy, but like I said, if you can pretty much think of the job, there's a chance that you'll see it posted as a travel opportunity.
Some factors we think about when considering traveling contracts are the setting and the experience you have in that setting. So if you have experience or you did a clinical fieldwork in that setting, you're going to be more comfortable going in, but it's not always necessary. What staffing and supports are available are another big thing for me, making sure, you know, how many OTs are on staff. You don't want to be the only OT as a new grad, and understanding like what supports are available to you with supervision as well as just resource and learning on the job. Location as well being important again. Many contacts being that dire need temporary position, they're going to be in rural locations. So doing your research on the area you're looking at and knowing what you're getting into before you get there can always be helpful. And lastly, compensation, ensuring you'll be able to cover your necessary expenses and be fairly compensated for your work based on what you're bringing to the table as well.
Working with recruiters. So this can be intimidating as a new grad, making phone calls, talking to different companies, really doing your research, but it's probably one of, if not the most important part to getting started with travel. So what you're going to want to do is you really want to sit down, you want to research different travel companies because there are a ton out there and they can be very similar, but some are going to have some different priorities. Some are really looking to just throw you into a placement. They get their money, they're done. Some will be a little bit more helpful and geared towards new grads where they're helping you with licensing and credentialing and they're making sure you have mentorship and there's people looking out for you. So the first thing is to start with research. Go with any recommendations that you can to find decent travel companies. Then from there, you want to take referrals, any kind of friends, family, alumni, anyone that you know that has done it and can push you in the right direction towards a good recruiter, because the actual recruiter matters even more than the company itself, because you want someone that's going to be able to really go to bat for you when you need them to and be able to negotiate on your behalf, know the skills that you have, know exactly what you're looking for contracts, because they're the ones that are going to be pairing you with different facilities. So reach out to multiple recruiters, keep a small pool of recruiters that you trust if you can. The recommendation that I've always heard is between 2 and 4 recruiters, because if you kind of work with more than that, then it can be overwhelming, because once you get these recruiters rolling, they are going to be sending you contracts and different places constantly. And this is where you have to be a little bit careful too. If you're working with multiple recruiters and they submit you to the same job, you are blacklisted from that job. You will not get it. So you have to make sure that you are approving and paying attention to what you're giving the okay for to be submitted to a job. So that's something that I was told right away. And luckily, because there have been times where I've been presented with the same job from multiple recruiters. And if I didn't know better, I would have probably just said, yep, submit my resume. And if you do that, it'll cause issues down the line. You're not going to get that job. So like I said, you want to keep a smaller pool, but you want them to be recruiters that you trust. And that way you can kind of keep that open relationship and make sure that you remember that they work for you. And that's something that sounds, it sounds a little bit different. I think it's weird coming out of school and kind of putting yourself in that role where you're calling the shots, but that's the way to do it so that you get what you want.
Just kind of touching on recruiters and agencies a little further. Like Erin said, there are countless different travel agencies that you can go through. These are a few examples and recommendations that we've been presented with, or we've had coworkers at sites that have gone through these agencies and have had good results and outcomes. So these are a few of the most popular ones. We're both currently on a contract through CompHealth right now with the same recruiter, as Erin was my own reference. Moving forward and just like the steps of how to get started. So your number one step is going to be contacting recruiters and start outlining what your preferences are in location, job setting, and supports. From there, your recruiter will start searching for jobs and with your approval, submit your application for you on your behalf. All you need to do is send over your resume to him and a little skills check usually, or her. Then licensing kind of comes at any point in the process. It depends on what state you're looking in. And there is new licensure, like a new compact for OT that's coming out, and different states are getting added to it as like time goes on. But your recruiter will help you in assisting for applying and obtaining those licenses based on where you're looking to go. And depending on the state, the turnaround times vary. Usually you'll have a virtual interview. It's not typically likely you'll have in person unless you're in that region already and can make it work. But the interview is just as important for the company as it is for you. You want to be ensuring you're asking the questions that are important to you and ensuring that it's a good fit, not only for the company, but for you. Negotiation and accepting the offer, all done through your recruiter. So you want to look at the pay rates, any time off that you have planned within that contract, and other details will be submitted through your recruiter to the company. From there, you do required credentialing through your company, which is basically just a lot of paperwork, background checks, sometimes further tests or certifications like basic life skills and CPR. And then from there, you've signed your contract, you're ready to go. So you want to look for short-term housing while you're gone. There are many different ways to do this. Furnish Finder is our favorite resource for short-term rentals. They work directly with healthcare companies, or for healthcare workers is kind of how they're designed. And I learned from my landlord that they actually don't charge any fees compared to like Airbnb and Vrbo for the person that's renting. So if you ever need to rent out down the line, that's a good option. And from there, you just kind of set up and set all your plans in action to start traveling and working.
So I mentioned this before, but the pay is a big factor when you're talking about travel. And what your pay package looks like is going to be very different from if you were to take a permanent position in your hometown. So it's broken up into your hourly rate, your housing and meal stipends, and then your other reimbursements. So your hourly rate might look a little bit lower than what you're expecting when you first roll out as a new grad. But that is done on purpose because this is considered what is your taxable income. And there's all this IRS workaround, and your recruiters take care of all of this. So it's nothing that you have to worry about. But this is what matters when you have a good recruiter. They're going to kind of shift things to make it the most beneficial. So your hourly rate is just based on, that's easy, your time worked and you're done. And that rate might look a little bit lower. But for housing stipends, that is a set daily rate, and you're going to be paid that every single day of the week, because wherever you are, you're going to need housing, whether you're working that day or not. They need you to live there, so they're paying for it. Then you get meal stipends. So any day that you're working, you're getting paid a daily rate that's going to cover all of your meals, or at least the meals during your shift. Typically, it's pretty generous though. And then sometimes depending on your contract, there are housing options that are going to be included for free. Or the way that it typically works is you're given your stipend, and you can kind of go and find your housing on your own. That's what I do. That's what Mckenzie has done. And that's, in my opinion, the best way to get the most bang for your buck, because those stipends are going to be what really boosts that income. And if you can find a place that's a little bit cheaper to live, you're going to be able to profit and make a little bit more. And then reimbursements. So these aren't as consistent, but this could be gas mileage, relocation. So this typically, Mckenzie, is up to $500. I know I've asked for more, and this is where you get if you don't ask, you don't get kind of a thing. And when I moved out here, I was able to get a little bit more than that. But again, you just got to keep asking, pushing. They can cover your state licensing fees and any credentialing that you have to do as far as fingerprinting, drug testing, background checks, physicals. All of those things are covered and reimbursable.
The nice thing about the stipends too, like if you're under budget for what you're paying for, you don't have to return that money. That's your money in your pocket, and it's all extra. So a lot of people look at travel as a new grad as a way to really start paying down those loans when we're first out of school, because I know was my motivator. It's very stressful when you see those numbers.
Yes,
that's true. Our next slide is a little taboo, but we wanted to kind of get a vibe before we released it if people were interested in this information. We knew as students in our journey, we were always just curious, like, what is realistic for a new grad? What are you making in whatever setting you're interested in? So we kind of crunched a little bit of numbers and just did some estimates here. So I'll remove little Benjamin. And here's our examples. So for me as a staff SNF employee, I was in Corning, New York. My weekly take home was around $1,100 a week. This was good for me. I mean, I was living at home. I didn't have a lot of expenses. But if you jump down to my travel in Oregon, I'm making a lot more than that with similar experience levels, which is really nice.
And then for me, so speaking from Delaware, again, that's 37.5 hours, the same job as what I'm doing in California, but some slightly different pay packages. I never worked in a permanent position beforehand, so I jumped right into travel. So I can't fully compare that to what that would be in a school at home, but I can guarantee it's more than what you would be getting. So
Um, my hours are not in there either. I was typically doing overtime in the nursing home. There's just things that needed to be done. I almost always worked 9-hour days, even though I was scheduled for 8. And I work a set 40-hour week here. I don't do any overtime because they don't want to pay for it. So you don't get conned into it.
Mhm.
And lastly, the last boring slide is describing what a tax home is. And this is where the fancy tax-free stipends and taxable income kind of meshes. So in order to earn your stipends tax-free, you have to maintain what's called a tax home. And that definition comes from the IRS. It's not always that specific, and your recruiting company has a lot of detailed information to help outline if you qualify for a tax home and what that entails. But some examples of requirements include you have to prove that you're duplicating living expenses while gone on assignment. So this could look like a mortgage bill, paying rent to maybe your parents like we do, or having your name on the utility bill at home. At a minimum, they recommend like your duplicated expenses should exceed that $275 a month. Then you also have to ensure you're spending a minimum of 30 calendar days a year at your tax home. Keeping receipts from a time home is a good tip that people have given to proving that. And the benefit in making this work is because you're making more money on a travel assignment, you can schedule time off in between contracts and kind of go back and forth, and you don't have to work 52 weeks a year and like figure that out. So for example, there's a business option for tax homes. So having your professional license registered to your tax home address is helpful, just for tracking purposes. Having rent, paying $500 to your tax home in addition to what you're paying for travel housing. And then adding your name on a utility bill is another example. And Erin, if you have any other
So
to touch on, yeah.
I was just going to say, it sounds pretty complicated and it is a little bit of a sticky area, but once you kind of learn the system, I promise you, it is so manageable. And there are a lot of different pieces of advice that we've gotten, different ways to do it that makes sense, where you don't feel like you're paying double, just to kind of keep your stipends and your travel jobs. But it can be a little bit tricky. So this is an area that you definitely want to do your research, because if you end up getting audited and you're not doing it properly, then the IRS, one thing you're always going to do is you're going to pay your taxes and they're going to get everything that they need from you. But just try not to stress it too much, because it's a lot more manageable than it might sound.
And into our fun experience slides. So Erin, take it away.
All right. So like I said, I jumped right into travel OT after passing my boards. I passed my boards in the middle of August, and my plan was to start my first travel contract by October, or like in October. I wanted to give myself about 6 weeks to stay home and kind of enjoy the fact that I just completed my master's. And then I was going to jump into a travel contract. So pretty much right after I passed, I reached out to recruiters, and I was working with 2, and one of them found me a job that was located in Rhode Island. And I did the interview process. I did all of the onboarding. I signed the contract, was accepted, and was 10 days from starting it, and they canceled my contract. So right off the bat, I was like, oh no, this is the first experience that I had with travel. And I was a little bit young, a little bit naive. I didn't fully understand the cancellation policy that's worked into the contract. So my biggest piece of advice is to read your contracts and to just know what they mean, because I overlooked it. I was always kind of told, they could be canceled, you are disposable, but it doesn't really happen. It does happen, and it happened to me. And I had already paid my first and last month's rent on an apartment. And at this point I was fresh out of school. So I didn't have money to throw around, and that was brutal. I wasn't sure what to do, but my family was like, you know, things happen for a reason. It's gonna work out. I was like, you guys need to stop telling me that because I can't handle it. But it did work out. And then I signed my second contract for an assignment in Delaware, where I covered a maternity leave in a school district. This ended up being probably the biggest blessing for me. It got me into schools. I lived with Katie Dick, who's in one of these pictures and is also a fellow Ithaca alum. So I lived with her in Delaware for a few months before I then ended up extending my contract through the end of the year. So the OT who was out on maternity leave didn't end up coming back, but because I took over her caseload and I got to see all of the work that she had done in the beginning of the year to set up all of the different ways that she collected data, the different goals that she had, the different ways that she wrote her IEPs. I got to really look at all of that and then work with other OTs in the district. It was a really good way to kind of wean into an entirely new role for me. I'd never worked in a school district before, so I was a little bit nervous about that. But originally knowing it was 13 weeks, I was like, I can get through 13 weeks. I can figure it out, you know, fake it till you make it. And it ended up working out. And I realized that I did really like working in schools. So from that point, I started to apply for the next contract that I wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to go a little bit further from home. And I ended up taking a contract, which is my current contract here on the central coast of California. So out here, I get to work with another OT, but we have different schools, different caseloads entirely. And I've definitely gotten to see a lot more since I've been out here. I cover now from 3 preschool, so like 3 up through they finish high school. So I have kids kind of all across that pediatric age range. But yeah, so I just definitely wanted to touch on there's some good and there's some bad, but it's worth it. I know that sometimes things, if they don't work out, you can start to panic, and I panicked, but it ended up working out in the end, and I definitely have no regrets with anything that I've done with travel. I even liked it so much that I insisted Kenzie tries, so. Oh, and these are just pictures from Kenzie came to visit me. So we went to Big Sur, which if anyone doesn't know, it's up a little bit more towards San Francisco and the Bay Area, really by Monterey. So we got to do some hiking, and she met all my friends out here. And so travel gives you a lot of different opportunities. You have friends in cool places, and you get time off, and you can kind of shuffle around and see a lot of different really cool parts of the country. Which actually, Kenzie, go back up because I want to talk about
There you go.
the pictures. Some of these pictures are just from the road trip that I got to take just to be coming out here. But then the bottom right picture is the beach that is 1.5 miles from my house. And the picture of me in the kayak is from a bay that's really close by that has sea otters. It had a whale in it 2 weeks ago. So I kayaked next to a whale. There's just so much that you can see and you can do and experience aside from the learning aspect and your growth in your career. There's just a really cool opportunity to grow as a person and kind of see all of the different places that this country has to see. So I encourage anyone who's interested to reach out and try it. But that's good. You can keep going now, Ken.
So my background's a little bit different. Unlike Erin, I started off with my career in that traditional permanent staff setting that is, you know, more recommended for new grads. I took a little bit longer to finish my clinicals because we had some COVID time going in there. And I ended up passing my boards in November of 22. Yeah, November of 22. And in New York State, it took me almost 3 months to get my license processed, and I couldn't start working until February. So I was already just kind of hanging out, waiting around. Once I started working in skilled nursing, I will say it looked more glorious from the outside when I interviewed versus when I got there. The setting I was in was a for-profit, so it really rubbed me the wrong way down the line. I did my clinical in a skilled nursing that was a nonprofit, and I was able to see the differences and how much more money driven a for-profit system is. And very shortly, I had a lot of feelings of burnout, compassion fatigue, a lot of ethical dilemmas I'd faced about trying to get 76 or 92-minute treatment sessions with people who are at the end of life and don't want to participate. And at that point, you're not doing skilled care. So it feels wrong to bill that amount. And I ended up putting my notice in with no backup plan. I was like, I just need out. I need to figure out what's next for me. And thanks to Erin, I started talking to recruiters and pursuing travel because I was like, well, I knew this setting wasn't for me. I wasn't opposed to going back to skilled nursing, but I wanted to make sure it was a facility that followed better ethical guidelines, like that fit more with my style. And thanks to Erin, her recruiter helped me set up a contract in a location I wasn't even looking in. I was pursuing California initially because there are a lot of jobs in California because of how big of a state it is. He had a previous traveler go to the site I'm at currently, which is a critical access hospital and outpatient clinic. It's in a rural town in Eastern Oregon, 10,000 population, which I thought was nothing. I'm from a little small town that's got 3,000 people. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of in my comfort zone. And I took the interview and had no intentions of taking this contract. I sat on it for maybe 24 hours and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should. I could do anything for 13 weeks. It had a good variety of experience outlined for me in that it was a mixed setting. So I get to spend half my day on the hospital side, treating people on the med-surg floor, whether it's acute or we also have a swing bed program, which kind of mimics a skilled nursing placement. It just kind of extends their time in the hospital for therapy specifically. And then I also get to spend the other half of my day in the outpatient clinic, which I had no experience in outpatient practice. So I get to treat, this is actually my last week. So I'm wrapping up and saying goodbyes. I get to treat pediatrics and adults as well. So I do a mix of neuro and cognitive based treatments, as well as I ended up extending my contract longer and got to build experience in the hand therapy side of things and seeing more orthopedic based patients, which I was kind of ready to leave at a certain point. Like, okay, 13 weeks is kind of enough, but almost not enough. And I was like, there's still more I can learn. I can build my experience even further and see if hands are something I'm even interested in. And turns out I am interested in it. So you never know what is going to be presented with you in a travel setting. And a different aspect for me being in a clinic, I have a great group and a great team that I work with very collaboratively. I share a lot of patients with the physical therapists. We work together on the hospital floor. We get to co-treat. We get to kind of bounce ideas back and forth for different populations. And it's been an experience that I never thought I'd be interested in. I was like, I'm not an outpatient person, but it's been a lot of fun and I'm really thankful I did it. So some of my pictures, this top right one is from my trip out west. My dad drove with me, so we were able to go to Grand Teton National Park. I was able to go on a long weekend to Seattle with one of my coworkers who's in the middle. And this bottom picture of the hike is a local hike I did in Baker City. So Eastern Oregon is kind of rural, but if you are an outdoorsy person, it's a really great place to be.
So there were just a couple of miscellaneous things that we really wanted to kind of make sure we touched on and reminded you guys, but some things to keep in mind are that your contract is entirely up to you. Do not let recruiters push you into something that doesn't feel right. This can be a little bit tricky sometimes as that new grad. You kind of are willing to listen to, you're like, oh, I'm listening to adults and taking advice, and they push you to do something and you want to just say yes and jump at it. But you have to go with your gut and know what you want and make sure that you are putting your foot down when you need to. But with that, keep an open mind and use each contract as a chance to learn and grow in any new setting. You might be working with new clients or new therapists, and that all has a different way to help you learn and grow. Pay attention to a contract's cancellation policy, please. If you don't ask, you don't get. That is something we cannot emphasize enough. Your recruiter works for you, not the other way around. Always review your contract to make sure that the pay package is exactly what you discussed. Sometimes numbers are just a little bit iffy, and once you sign that contract, it's done and it's set in stone. And these contracts come around quick. That's something we wanted to touch on too. You might be offered, or your recruiter might present you with a job on Tuesday, and you answer and you say, yep, submit my application. They submit it. You might have an interview the next day on Wednesday. Then you interview, it goes well. They might offer you the job on the spot. They might offer you the job within the day, or the next day. And then you typically have about 24 hours to respond. So for me, I decided while I was back in Delaware and I did an interview, and my recruiter said, all right, they're offering you the job. This is the rate. Is this what you want? I said, can I get back to you? And he said, let me know by tomorrow. So I had to decide if I was going to move across the country within 24 hours. And I ended up agreeing. I said, sure. But that's all part of just how quickly things can move. And your recruiter is making these contracts really quick. It might not be a decision that they're making where they are cutting you out of money, but you just want to double check, and you just always want to make sure that things are what you agreed on. It can be scary to move away from home, but it can really be incredible. And like me and Kenzie have been saying, there's just so many opportunities out there. And travel OT just overall can be new grad friendly. You just have to know what to ask for.
And that concludes.
Anyone have questions? Also, there are no stupid questions. I asked the Ithaca alum that I spoke to about this so many questions. He was probably so sick of me, and I promise we want to help you guys if you're interested in it.
Yes, of course. The few that we recommended, that we've personally kind of reached out to and talked to, Comp Health. Erin also did her previous contract through Core Medical. And then I've had coworkers that are travelers that have gone through AMN and Fusion and had good reviews. But there is also, I think I linked it somewhere, but there is an app or a website I recently came across that kind of groups everything together. It's called Vivian, Vivian. And that website has all different companies. It kind of groups them together, and you can compare and contrast, and also like search for jobs all in one area. So that is, I'll type that in the chat. It's a good resource.
Yes, Mindy?
Thank you, Erin. Well, you guys kept saying, do your research, do your research. How do you do your research? Like, what is a recommendation for, I don't know, I think you mentioned that multiple times. Like, where is that information?
Good point. For me, the amount of Google searches that I did, I read blogs, I looked on Facebook, I watched YouTube videos of people who are traveling. I followed anyone that I saw that was doing it, but a lot of times I was just really Googling it, and I was like, what can I find? And if you do work with different agencies, they will typically give you a good breakdown too, even on their websites. They go over a lot of the details. So check those websites if you have questions.
Thank you.
I see one about the hand therapy portion of my experience. I will say it sounds very intimidating, and it was for me starting out. I was taking over a position in the clinic. So it was on that outpatient side of the clinic I work at, and they had a CHT in that role previously that put in her notice and had like 4 weeks left. And we had a lot of hand patients that were post-op and needed to be seen. And as a rural setting, there's not a lot of options in the area. So I took on some mentorship from that CHT and kind of took a little crash course with her, did all of my continuing ed that would guide me through it. And I would call myself still, I'm a generalist. I don't treat very complex things. I refer a lot of things to my supervisor just for feedback. And I actually got to work, what was nice, directly with the surgeon that I got a lot of referrals from. And he was very collaborative with the other therapists that he worked with. And you'd have like monthly meetings where I was honest with him. I'm like, hey, this is new to me. I'm not super confident. So maybe your more complex patients are better suited in different clinics where they have more experienced providers, because I'm not going to be able to give them the care that they need. But it's something I'm interested in gaining more experience in. So it kind of opened that door for me.
I'm seeing another one in the chat. Are you allowed to quit your placement within the 13 weeks? Yes. So that's another reason to know your cancellation policy, because it goes both ways. So for my first contract, I had a 14-day cancellation. So I thought once I passed that 14 days that I was good to go. I didn't think that they could cancel after that. That's not true. They can cancel at any point, and then those 14 days go by and you're done. But at the same time, you have the right as the traveler to cancel within that same time frame. So it's completely up to you. If you end up somewhere that doesn't work out, or there's an emergency at home or something comes up and you need to leave, you can leave. How likely is it to get a location that is highly populated and desired to live, like Denver, New York City, Charlotte? So for me, I've seen a bunch of jobs pop up. Like Denver, I've actually seen quite a few. Kenzie, I don't know if you want to chime in, because I know you were looking at Colorado.
I was looking at Colorado, and I actually got sent an offer from our recruiter recently. It was a hand therapy position. They didn't need a certified hand therapist, but it was recommended. And I was like, I don't know if my confidence is there. I've got some other things kind of lined up in my timeline. But I'd say the more populated areas and popular locations, those are the jobs that are going to go quickly because they're more sought out. So those are the ones that when they're posted, recruiters are reaching out to their people immediately and there's interest. So that job is likely going to be posted and filled within 24 to 72 hours.
I remember I really wanted to go to Hawaii, and I was told it's a bit hard to get there because it's so popular. Everyone wants to take a contract in Hawaii. And I have seen a bunch pop up, but just none that really fit for my skills and really what I'm interested in.
And I see that is the time off considered more than a non-travel job. So within your contract, when you're setting up those negotiations, your recruiter will ask you, is there any pertinent time off you want to request while you're signing up? So they'll have that noted. You don't get paid for time off, so it is considered non-paid vacation. So that is something to keep in mind. But with having multiple contracts within a year, you can kind of create your own schedule and taking time off. And Erin might have a different perspective.
I was just gonna say that depending on your contract, sometimes there's a lot of time like provided that you're off. So for me, I'm on a school contract. I get a lot of time off through that. That's just through the school. But something that's really unique about a travel job is I'm still getting paid during my time off for my for like my housing stipend. I think part of my meals are still covered also. So those are just things that you don't get with your typical job. And then kind of as we keep mentioning, but in between job contracts, you could take as much time off as you want in between.
I see another one. It's more direct to me. What kind of advice would you give to nail the interviews? There is probably endless advice in an interview setting. I mean, whether you're interviewing for a permanent job or a travel job, making sure you kind of have your list of interview questions ready to go next to you throughout. Super important to outline the things that are important to you. For me, one of the top questions I kept in mind is, what is the caseload like? How many people do you see in a day? What type of diagnoses are most commonly referred to this population? Understanding the like dynamic between different providers in the unit, or like PT to OT, what's that ratio look like? Depending on the unit and the setting, your questions are going to be different, but you can always ask, like, do you have other people I could chat with about this experience? Or do you have reviews I could access based on previous travelers here? To kind of get more of a picture of what that would look like for you. I always like to ask that question of like, what does a typical day look like in this setting? And that can give you a really good picture of what it might look like for you.
Mm-hmm. And something I'll say about the interview process, with travel jobs, it can be kind of weird. It's not your typical interviews that you're sitting for where you have follow-up interviews or you're sitting there for a half hour, whatever it may be. My first interview was a phone interview and it lasted all of 7 minutes. And that's not every travel job. Some are different. The one that I've done now most recently, that was a bit longer. That seemed like more of your typical interview on Zoom. And I had 3 people from the district that were asking me different questions, but it can kind of vary. And knowing, just really having prepared for it, knowing what you need to know, asking about mentorship, asking about the location, asking about your caseload, what kind of disabilities you might be working with, or just different ways that you could prepare. That's really the best way to do it, but it can vary for sure. So.
And then I see another one of, are there a good amount of travel OT jobs with working with people with physical disabilities? I would say yes. Like Erin said, she wasn't expecting to see a lot of pediatric postings. So typically the majority of job postings are geared towards that adult population. And it really just depends on the setting and what's open, but jobs are coming and going. And there's even been like community-based settings that have been posted. So it really just varies on what the need is in that area and how they're trying to fill that need.
Anyone have any other questions? I promise, even the simple stuff is, we will answer it.
What would you say your biggest supports have been through this whole process? Like being away from home, finding a job, anything.
I won't lie, it's not all like butterflies and rainbows. Some days you come home and you're on your own and you're like, shit. You're like, now what? But I think for me, I'm very, very close with my family. Even though they're on the other side of the country, I can pick up the phone, call them, talk to them. But the other thing is not to like, it sounds so cheesy, but like the alumni that I'm friends with, like the other OTs that I've met from Ithaca, I always reach out to them. I mean, me and Kenzie are talking all the time, and we have completely different caseloads, but we are getting each other's opinions. We're talking about our days, just the different ways that living on your own can kind of be challenging too. So I'm lucky that I have Kenzie going through it with me too, but just it feels sometimes as if nothing has changed. Like I'm on the other side of the country, but I'm still talking and leaning on everyone else.
I kind of explained it to one of my friends here. So that's another thing, is not to isolate yourself. That's been huge for me. I can be very introverted. So making sure I'm like branching out with the people I work with and making friends at work or in the area can be super helpful. In my setting specifically, there's multiple travelers. So there's people coming and going all the time. I'm friends with permanent staff. I'm friends with other travelers. So having them to bounce off of has been great. But it almost, sometimes being on the other side of the country and so attached, it does feel like you're in a simulation, or like you're just detached from reality, because it is different than what you're normal or what you're like normally used to. So I'd say, yeah, just trying not to isolate, focusing on that occupational balance and self-care, always prioritizing that and your needs, because you can easily get burnt out in any setting. It just because it's not a permanent staff job doesn't mean you're not safe from burnout. You have to kind of protect yourself as a professional.
Okay, if no one else has any questions, we can start to wrap up. Thank you again to Erin and Mckenzie for presenting on this topic. And just a reminder to everyone that the video and the transcript will be provided on the Ithaca College YouTube for future reference.
I just want to say thank you, and super proud of you both for taking this leap and sharing your stories with us. Super helpful. And thank you for your candidness.
Maybe a little bit too candid at times, but no, we were just excited to kind of be able to share this stuff with you guys because we've been there, so we get it.
Also, we don't have one planned yet, but there will be one more speaker series probably for April.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. I don't like to run